Yeah,
I don't even have to guess which side I take after.
right. Well, you're one of the lucky ones. Too many people wander around just totally unfamiliar with about even having a conversation about genetics and the health and disease issues that plague genetics and through generations in a family tree. I mean, everybody should, I just beg everybody, if your mother and your father are still alive, have that conversation with them. It's not going to be a waste of your time. And unfortunately, by the time I got educated to the point to where I am today, you know, you go back, November of 1980. So we're going to go back all the way to 40 years ago, since my mom passed away. I wasn't that smart at 20 years old, or I think I was actually 19 or 18, something like that, when she passed. And my dad passed not more than 4 or 5 years later. So I never had the opportunity to have those conversations with my mom and my dad. And my brother, he's been gone for almost 12 years now. So I didn't get a chance to have a conversation with him, but he was very difficult to talk to anyway. He didn't like that intrusive, negative, real deep, honest conversation you had to have about parents and genetics and this and that. And he was a Vietnam War veteran, so he didn't like to talk about personal stuff very much at all. Kind of locked himself up. But anyways, Roderick, why don't you go ahead and introduce the call, and we'll go ahead and get started. I see we're being recorded already.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to miss some of the juicy nuggets that you always share when you speak. So, but so I wanted to get that. And so this is the Wednesday night Enriching Gifts Education Call, August 19th. And Dover, who couldn't be here today, had some unscheduled emergency commitments for today and for next week, as I understand. So I'm stepping in. But just let's get going here. We're just excited as always to learn from Ron Snyder. I messed up your name. Ron Snyder. He's a formulator of Enriching Gifts enzymes. So why don't we let you go ahead and take it over, Ron, and let us know what's on your mind tonight.
Okay. Well, one of the things that normally I don't like to talk too much about topics. I always like to just let people kind of come on the line, ask their health questions or concerns, and that's kind of the topic for tonight. But I did want to share something that I kind of came across, found it extremely interesting, and started looking into it most of the week. And I'm just like, holy cow, are we ever being misled and ripped off in this world? Everybody that talks about low testosterone levels, that's being caused by low T and its natural effect as you age, you lose about 1 to 2% every year over the age of 40, 45 years old. Well, there's a reason why you lose that testosterone. And I always wondered that because your glands that actually produce the testosterone levels, they don't diminish. They're there from the time you're born to the time you die. So why would it kind of lower and go down? Well, I found out threefold. Two was people had already researched stuff, but there is a third. And that third is the whole digestive component. By the time the average person hits the age of 38 to 42 years old, your body produces less than 50% or greater loss of the digestive enzymes you did at age 15. So you're not getting nutritionally fed for your body to maintain those high levels of strong glands, organs, and tissues. But the second thing is, and I always knew this as an athlete, especially as a bodybuilder, testosterone levels, you can raise them very, very quickly. Just activate your largest muscles in your body, and those are your quads between your knees and your butt. Those two muscles make up more than half of the entire muscle tissue of the human body. So whenever you're going into the gym, and this is for everybody that wants to lose weight, build muscle, that kind of thing, always work your legs. And there's such a thing called a squat jump. And you should literally deep squat jump. I mean, you literally jump up, and then you bend your legs to where your butt almost touches the floor. And you put your feet shoulder length apart. And you do that about 20 times. That will get your testosterone elevated very, very quickly. And your body cannot burn fat, nor does it build muscle tissue without elevated testosterone levels. So now you're not going through 5, 10, 20 minutes worth of workout trying to elevate your testosterone levels. That will do it. Second thing is, this is what I was kind of astounded at. You go to all of these different WebMD, University of North Carolina, University of Harvard, Cambridge University, on and on and on and on, and all the pharmaceutical and medical places as well. And you can get prescribed testosterone, shots, hormones, pills, whatever. It doesn't work, because one of the things that you go through for your entire lifespan that suppresses your body's ability to produce testosterone is another hormone called cortisol, your stressor hormone. And cortisol can actually be elevated by specific foods that are common in most people's daily diets. And so I found that just tremendously, wow, that makes a lot of sense, because I used to take testosterone. I used to take Smilex. I used to take a whole bunch of yohimbe herbs from the wild Mexican yam to increase testosterone levels. But if you don't give your body time to recover and you try to elevate that with your diet, even though cortisol levels are extremely elevated and remain high, you're not going to do any of that. So that was really interesting. And these enzymes that we have, they're naturally going to break down cortisol levels. They do not inhibit or block the production of cortisol hormone like a steroid does. A steroid completely blocks your body's ability to produce it. It creates inflammation, which slows blood. And therefore, you're not going to be able to exert much stress to your muscles or your organs of your body. That's what limits your workout. With a steroid, you can literally work out in a gym for hours and never have any soreness and stuff, because it blocks your body's production of cortisol. Cortisol is your internal mechanism that makes your body stop whenever it becomes extremely stressed. It's an internal protective mechanism. So our enzymes naturally break down the protein that is actually cortisol hormone circulating in the blood. It does not block it, it breaks it down. And it also increases blood flow and oxygenation. And that's one of the things that I wanted to talk to you. And you do not have to be an athlete. You don't have to be a bodybuilder. You don't have to be anything other than your normal self to benefit from this knowledge. But the fact that you're going to go out and your libido's way down, you're tired all the time, you're putting on a lot of weight, and that's kind of unexplained. Everybody thinks the thyroid's out of whack. No, your testosterone levels are being suppressed by excessive cortisol. So just wanted to share that with everybody, and you don't need a prescription drug to be taking our enzymes. Just wanted to let everybody know that too. And going out and taking a bunch of testosterone and DHEA supplements and all that kind of stuff, that's very, very limited in its usefulness, and it's hard on the body because you're actually trying to elevate one hormone while your body still has the ability to elevate the counter hormone to testosterone, which is cortisol. So anyway, just want to throw that out there, and that was my topic for tonight. I found it just very fascinating. I really didn't realize there was a connection between elevated cortisol levels suppressing testosterone levels. So I learned something this week myself. So with that being said, anybody want to go ahead and ask any questions for the call? Did we have the gal come on to the call tonight with the young child that has some constipation or some digestive issues? Is she on the line tonight? And are we in live interactive mode?
We are.
Okay.
So if you're on a phone, you can press *6 to unmute yourself. And if you're calling in through the Zoom session, there should be a mute button that you can unmute yourself. Come on out and say hello, or ask a question if you have one.
Yeah, anybody has any health questions for tonight's call, just chime right in.
I know one question I can just.
Cheryl.
Oh, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. Go ahead.
Ladies first.
Well, I always say, Roderick, excuse me, I always say ladies first. So I know there
Exactly.
was a lady talking. So go ahead, ma'am. Ask your question.
Ron, this is Cheryl. And so I wanted to ask about the topic you were speaking of as far as cortisol issues. And
Right.
we're actually talking about the estrogen levels, but how can that play a part with hair loss in women or men, really, for that matter?
Cortisol is, if you have elevated cortisol levels, that is one of the main reasons why you suffer from hair loss. Everybody thinks it's a thyroid problem. No, elevated cortisol levels actually create a lot of thyroid problems. They also create testosterone issues and problems. That little hormone counteracts a whole bunch of different hormones that are carried out throughout the human body's endocrine system. It was a real eye opener. I had no idea, and just going out and trying to take testosterone shots or pills, that doesn't going to do anything. That's just a never-ending expensive battle that has very little results that produce in any time or anywhere. And there's 3 studies now. There was one at University of Harvard that actually came out with this huge groundbreaking study. And cortisol can be actually influenced and elevated by foods in your daily diet.
So can you
So
talk a
there's
little bit
foods you
about
can take.
that
What's
diet?
that?
Can you talk a little bit about the diet?
You know, I didn't go into the diet. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I can go back and look that up, and we can talk about that next week. Cortisol reducing food diet, but I did not go into that. I mean, I was just so fascinated to find out that cortisol could actually influence, like I said, your estrogen levels, your other hormones, your testosterone levels. I had no idea that it could actually suppress other hormones. I knew that it elevated, and when it did, you could not burn an ounce of fat because that has to be in an oxygen pH in order to create thermogenesis, which is the process of breaking down and burning body fat for energy during aerobic exercise or any kind of physical activity. But I didn't know that it could actually suppress testosterone levels. And it suppresses a lot of different hormones. So I want to research into it a little bit more. I only had a couple hours, and it was fascinating. And this study just came out literally in February of this year. So this is something that's brand new. Hasn't even hit the media yet or the supplement industry or anything like that yet. But I've always known that our digestive enzymes actually break down the protein that actually is created to, because when cortisol is elevated, it releases a particular protein that actually spicules in your blood. It's like long little strands of sticks, black sticks. Well, that protein, the enzymes can actually break it down. And that's why I was able to get so massively huge as a bodybuilder way back when I was in my late to mid 30s. I was competing at 304 pounds and only had a 10.2 body fat percentage.
Wow.
304 pounds, that's unreal. Arnold Schwarzenegger never competed above 240. Lou Ferrigno, I think his was 258, was the heaviest he ever competed. You know, and these guys, you know, they were big. So you can only imagine how massive I used to be.
So
But that's why. That's one of the benefits of taking the enzymes. What's that?
yeah, so taking more plant enzymes will help break down the cortisol, which will then.
Well, you don't want to take more of them. Just make sure you're taking enough to deal with every meal. And then those 3 at night. This is another reason why those 3 at night become so critically important. Away from your meals. Let's clean up the blood. Let's oxygenate the blood. Let's get rid of the protein from the cortisol production for the day. So your body relaxes, doesn't have inflammation, improved blood circulation, improved oxygen, and your metabolic functioning processes of healing and repair occur way more efficiently as you go to sleep with those 3 enzymes every night, just before you lay your head on the pillow and go to bed.
Okay. Is there any way with any of your supplements to actually increase hair growth?
Yeah, there's actually an enzyme that actually attacks the hair follicle. Now, I don't know how much you ladies on this call actually watch national television, But you see on HSN, QVC, Home Shopping, all the shopping channels, it's just amazing the hair, skin, and nail products everybody has out there. Well, one of the biggest things that I did when I brought out our amino acids, that was hair, skin, and nails, but it also produced a lot of weight loss, so much so that the company had to close down and open up, and they opened up strictly as a weight loss company. They didn't even deal with the hair, skin, and nails. They were so successful with it. But they had to abandon it because they didn't mention the side effect of losing so much weight. It became a problem for a lot of people. Wow, what a problem to have. So that's where I got most of my amino acid formula from. His name is Mike Dobson. He's a multi-billionaire. He has one single product. They built a what was it, $16, $17 billion company in less than 7 years, and that's all they had was one product. And but the problem they had is everybody had way too much weight loss, and so they had to change strategies. And he just literally gave me their base formula. Well, any hair formula that doesn't have choline in it or boron in it is not a very good hair formula. And yet it worked, but it didn't have either one of those ingredients in it, and it didn't have my enzyme. So I way upped it. Some of the other amino acids they had were very low, so I upped the amounts of those as well. But amino acids definitely can help with growing hair. That's what your body has to have in order to grow hair. That's what your hair follicles use is amino acids, as well as most of your brain outside of glycogen, which is a form of sugar. Most of your brain tissue and cells use amino acids. So it's good for your head, period. But there's an enzyme, and it's a real long name, that actually attacks the hair follicle. And that's why you literally, it's hereditary, because there's real high amounts of this enzyme that attacks the hair follicle as you age, and that's the hereditary part of it. You have an excessively high production of this enzyme that attacks your hair follicle. Now, with all that being said, you take the digestive enzymes, and you're going to stop a lot of your hair loss. You can actually increase your hair regeneration or hair growth with just the digestive enzymes alone. I remember Dwayne Baker's sister out in Minneapolis, Minnesota. She was almost bald. And literally after 2 years of being on her digestive enzyme, she came back into one of my meetings when I went back there for Sauk Center, Minnesota, to do blood screenings and a lecture. I didn't even recognize her. She had a full-grown head of hair. And so I know the enzymes can dramatically help because they actually break down that enzyme that attacks the hair follicle.
Okay.
So, but the amino acids will definitely help with hair growth. That's why I brought it into the company as a product, because I thought, wow, what a problem to have. And then I see the price of our product. Remember, there's 180 capsules in our amino acids. I see all the time on QVC, Home Shopping, HSN, they all have multiple hair growth products. There's not a one of them that isn't under $120 for 90 capsules. I only saw one bottle that was $120, and it was $133 on sale. So our product is priced phenomenally inexpensive compared to what you're going to buy with other hair, skin, and nail products. It's over 50% less for what you're getting in the bottle. And they don't have enzymes in their formula. They only have a couple of amino acids. They don't have a full profile like I do. Because like I said, I went after hair, skin, and nails, not just hair growth.
Well, I have been on all of the products for quite some time, and I actually went through a period of time, I'm going to say over the last 2 years, of gradual hair loss. But probably.
So let me ask you something. So what's going on in your life that's creating the stress? Because again, cortisol, when elevated, can actually affect your hair growth.
Okay.
Suppresses
so,
it.
And I have definitely had a lot of stress, so I'm sure that
Okay. That's huge. I guarantee you that's your problem. So rather than thinking, oh my gosh, I got to go out and get this hair restoration program, spend all this money on all this other stuff and everything, are you taking the 3 enzymes at night, every night when you go to bed?
I do, as well as with each meal. And
Okay.
I was not doing the evening or the nighttime enzymes. But once I started that, I'm going to say probably about 6 months ago, I quit losing my hair in the masses that I was losing it. So now
Right.
it's kind of stable. But I'm very, very thin. And now I'm trying to look at how do I regrow this?
Okay, and let me just share something else with you. And this is something I know firsthand. Most of the world's never ever heard of me or even heard me talk about this. But Dr. John Morrow, one of the first people that I met when I used to move to Scottsdale, Arizona, lived there in 1984. One of the first people I met when I got into the network marketing industry as a distributor was Dr. John Morrow. He was a chiropractor as well as a, what do they call those, with an acupuncture specialist. And he lived in Carefree, Arizona on a huge castle estate on the side of a mountain. I became very good friends with him, got to be very close, good buddies with him. And he is the one who actually introduced to the chiropractic industry globally, worldwide, far infrared for treating broken bones, deteriorated discs, all that kind of stuff. He's the pioneer that helped research that entire industry. I actually had a microscope. He wasn't familiar with the phase contrast microscope. So I used to go out to his center there in Carefree and in Scottsdale and analyze blood for certain infrared applications and treatments, as well as his acupuncture. And so you could actually see the effects of it within the bloodstream. And so he and I worked together for probably about 2.5, 3 years. But one of the things you'll see on national television is that Capella hair, that cap with the infrared underneath of it. It's expensive as the dickens, but that does work. Far infrared is the only frequency of all energy that actually affects the DNA of the human cell. No heat, sun heat, radiant heat. There's nothing, no other kind of energy that will affect the DNA of the human cell other than far infrared. And that is actually shown to regenerate hair follicles that are dying off because of that enzyme and poor blood circulation because of chronic elevated cortisol levels. So that's the other thing you could try is far infrared treatment. Now there's a lot of far infrared light sources. You do not have to get that cap. They have bars.
I currently own an Omega Light, which is a low-level LED.
No, it's got to be far. It's got to be far infrared. An LED light's not going to do it.
What does far infrared mean?
Far infrared. That's what it's called.
Okay, so I'll look that up. So what I have is maybe not that.
No, an LED light is well. Look at. I'm not saying that LED lights can't produce far infrared energy, but you make sure that it's far infrared. If it doesn't say far infrared as the energy that's being emitted from those LED lights, then you're wasting your money on hair growth. I'm just telling you. And there's Capella is one of the first ones that came out with that hat. But I pioneered that technology. I went and made the manuals for 4 different companies that had far infrared in their saunas. And they had rapid weight loss. Why? Because it got to the DNA in the human cell. And you had to have gopher wood too. You couldn't use cedar and all those other things that most dry saunas are made out of. Because far infrared would absorb in the cedar. So you had to have gopher wood and saunas that had gopher wood. And there was a couple companies that came out and it was extremely successful. But now I'm going way back to the middle, to the real late 1980s. That's how far back that goes. But I wrote the manuals for 4 of the biggest home sauna units manufacturers that there was. So I'm real familiar with far infrared, but as we're talking, I just remember that Dr. John Morrow out of Carefree, Arizona, and I remember him and all of the work we had was stimulating different parts of the human body at the DNA level with far infrared. And hair follicles is one of those that can be stimulated to produce not only increased blood flow, but also growth of a hair follicle, restoration of your hair follicles. Because they start to close up, and that's why your hair starts to thin, and then all of a sudden thinning isn't enough, and then you go into hair loss.
Okay.
But it stimulates dilation of the vessels that go to the hair follicle. It actually expands it and dilates it, so you have increased blood flow. But only far infrared energy will do that.
Okay, I will definitely look into that, and probably increasing the amino acids would help as well, right?
Yeah. How many days of those are you using? At least 4 a day?
I do. I get 4 a day, but I don't do the 6 a day. Maybe I need to try that.
No, you shouldn't have to. 4. These capsules are really big. Like I said, I've got more than twice the amount that Mike and then his other 3 partners used. 4 should be more than enough. You shouldn't have to use all 6.
Okay, and I've only been doing that for a short period of time, so I'm
Oh yeah, it's gonna take you several months, if not a good 6-8 months, to actually restore the hair follicle, the blood flow, the nutrients that will actually rebuild the follicle, those kind of things. This is not a couple months, 2-3 month deal. It's a long process.
Okay.
But you should start noticing the difference.
Is it best to take those with a meal?
Yeah, always. Amino acids, you always want to take them with a meal.
Okay.
And they're pre-digested, so they're going to get absorbed very quickly.
Okay. And can that meal, I typically eat like vegan type meals. I mean, is that going to be all right? Does it have to be with?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, no, you don't need proteins and meats and all that other stuff. As long as you have some good nutrients, good quality foods, regardless of whether it's vegan or meat, it shouldn't matter at all. Because remember, you're getting the amino acids, which actually come from proteins, whether it's a meat source, a vegetarian source. When you break a protein down, what you're left with is a whole profile, usually about 19 to 22 various amino acids from that protein source. And that's what your body uses to maintain all tissues of the human body, all tissues. And your whole body is nothing but different parts and tissues.
Okay.
So you have organ tissue, which would be your heart, your thyroid, your glands, that kind of thing. You have nerve tissue, brain tissue, soft tissue, bone tissue, muscle tissue. I mean, like I said, your whole body is nothing but a bunch of different various tissues put together, and that's the human body. And all of those tissues are made with amino acids, which are the broken down components of protein.
Okay. And
okay.
Soluble, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Good question. Anybody else on the line have any questions, comments? Anybody? Did the lady from the grocery store actually happen to make it on the line this evening at all? No. Well, for the gal that got had the conversation with the lady at the grocery store, hopefully one of the first things you do, if people are serious, I usually ask them for their number so I can get back with them. Do a follow-up. If they're not serious, they're not going to give you their number. That's the one thing I've learned, and you can call it sales or just experience. People that are serious, they're more than happy to exchange information. People that are just kind of ho-hum, I'll get back with you later, don't even worry about it. Don't waste your time. Okay?
Hi.
Go ahead, Roger.
Hey, Ron, this is Sanj here. I have a quick question in regards to in regards to a supplement called alpha lipoic acid.
Yeah, great for nerves. Great for nerve tissue.
Yeah, so how does that work on the nerves and for weight loss? Can you kind of go into that?
Well, it really isn't that successful for weight loss. You're talking about tissues. Alpha lipoic acid, I learned through the burns on the bottom of my feet. I just met with a specialist July the 8th, so a little more than a month, maybe a month and a week ago. Alpha lipoic acid is one of the main nutrients for all neurological transmission and formation of new nerve tissue growth. I didn't know that. I thought it was all amino acids, but alpha lipoic acid is not an amino acid per se. but it is tremendously beneficial. I've been taking it now for about 30 days since I got done with my last meeting and stuff. I can't say that I feel anything yet, but I'm, encouraged that maybe there is something I can do for these severely damaged feet of mine.
Yeah. What type of dose are you taking?
500 milligrams. And in fact, it says don't take more than 1,000 milligrams per dose every 4 hours minimum, because it'll slough it off. Your body can't absorb that much and use that much that quickly.
Okay.
So don't ever take more than 1,000 milligrams within a 4 to 6 hour period. Usually I take a 400 or a 500 milligram dose. I take 3 capsules a day. It says to take 2. And I've read, since researching it, your body can use up to 1,500 milligrams of it daily. So I'd much rather take the maximum rather than try to save a few bucks. My feet are more important than a few bucks.
Right.
So, but don't take any more than 1,500 milligrams. Don't try to take any more than 500 milligrams every 4 to 6 hours, because, like I said, your body just can't absorb or use that much that quickly.
Okay, excellent.
And there's really, just so everybody knows, there's really not that much difference in quality from one brand or the other when it comes to alpha lipoic acid. It's an elemental nutrient, so as long as it's actually released and in free form, your body's going to be able to use it and it'll be good for you. So if you can find a cheaper brand, go for the cheaper brand.
Okay, thank you.
And it's something that I think, if I'm remembering right, I think we have it in our multivitamin, but I've only got like a 20 or 25 milligram dose in there because I've got enzymes, and usually I can cut down the dosage about 70–80% and still get a better effect with a much smaller dose because of the enhanced digestive capability of the enzymes within the capsules.
Oh.
So, all righty.
All right.
Roderick, I know you had a question earlier. What was your question or comment?
Yeah, it was about testosterone, and how much does that play for women as well? Do they have levels that need to be concerned about?
Yeah, women don't produce near as much testosterone as a man. That's why they don't carry near as much muscle tissue as a man. The amount of testosterone your body produces is directly equivalent to the amount of muscle mass your body produces. So, like I said, you can take a lot of testosterone, even in a woman, bodybuilders, they have it in protein powders and supplements. But if you're not dealing with the cortisol, and by the way, cortisol levels are much higher in women than they are in men, typically. So that's why women have such a hard time losing the weight, gaining muscle. Things get converted to fat very easily. Pregnancies, after you're pregnant, you put on all that weight pre-birth. After the birth, it's so hard to lose the weight. That's because of elevated testosterone levels. And there's no quick fix for that, like I said. So if you take and use the digestive enzymes, and then especially take those 3 at night, you're actually working and helping your body diminish and lower your cortisol levels. Because you can take all the testosterone you want, but if you have chronically high cortisol levels, it suppresses your body's ability to make as well as use testosterone. It's not going to make any difference at all. And it made all perfect sense to me when I started reading about it, because I remember there was long periods, months on end, where I just couldn't gain. So I thought I had to go to a heavier weight, I had to put in more hours and this and that. But then I kind of reflect back on my recovery time and what was going on with my job and my work and stuff, and it's like, it all made perfect sense. Perfect sense. It's like the light bulb went on. Boom. So, did you have what else did you have in regards to that question, I guess?
No, nothing else. I was just curious. I know that, and not just for lady bodybuilders, but just women in general. I just wanted.
Just women in general. Correct. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just wanted.
Yeah. The main thing that you can do, because your body will always make testosterone. Those glands that make that are not going to change when you go through men's menopause or women's menopause. They'll produce less. But part of the reason, one of the main reasons why they produce less, is because you have less nutrients coming from your diet because of diminished digestive enzymes over the age of 40. So that's where I start tying this thing together. We're going to get right back to talking about that boring old crap topic that Ron Schneider just seems to beat to death like a dead horse, deficiency of digestive enzymes over the age of 40. But I'm telling you, that is going to solve a whole lot of people's problems and issues if they understand how to connect the whole thing together. It's going to definitely improve everything once they start getting that digestion and nutritional uptake going back again. So, anybody have any last minute questions? One more question, anybody? Comment? Anybody at all? No? Well, all right then. I guess we can close out the call for tonight. Good call for 45 minutes anyway. And I appreciate everybody coming on the line each and every week. And like I said, I just happened to come across this thing, and I started exploring it and getting into it this week about the amino acids, testosterone, and cortisol levels. And I thought, wow, that is fascinating. I bet you most people haven't heard that or even know how to connect that, because I sure didn't until this week. So I wanted to share that with everybody while it was still fresh in my head. All right. Well, Roderick, I think we'll just close out the call for tonight. If you have anything, last closing arguments or even comments, let her rip, and we'll just end the call for tonight.
No, thank you very much, Ron. I think it was a great call. I learned a lot about testosterone levels, working out, squat jumps, and how enzymes break down the cortisol levels, and how cortisol makes your body stop when you're stressed.
Yep.
And yeah, just a great call. And far infrared frequencies, how they affect the DNA of the cell. Never heard of that before. Just love learning great stuff.
And even hair loss, real important for hair loss, far infrared energy frequency.
Yeah.
Yep.
And to that question, thank you for your question, Cheryl. About increasing the hair growth. Enzymes themselves, and especially when you take them at night, and also amino acids will help with that from our product line.
Yeah.
So just a lot of great stuff tonight. I think it was good. Thank you so much.
All right, have a great night, everybody. Have a good night, Roderick. We'll talk to you next week.
Take care, guys.
Thanks,
Ron.
Bye.
Yep. Bye-bye.